Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Classics with Courtney. And today we are starting off Biblical Month. This month I will be tackling a biblical movie to celebrate Jesus' resurrection and his sacrifice for us. So, without further ado, we're going to take a look at a 1932 Cecil B. DeMille film starring Elisa Landi, Frederick Mark, Charles Laughton, and Claudette Colbert in The Sign of the Cross. Our story opens to a fire burning in Rome around the time of 64 AD after Jesus' resurrection. Nero, played by Charles Laughton, is thriving under his work, but upon hearing the rumors about himself starting the fire, he hatches a devilish plan.
Let us hope that most of the dead are Christians. They're increasing, did you know that?
We've hunted and killed them like rats.
Yet the Empire swarms with them. A dangerous superstition, Tigellinus, that teaches that the meek shall inherit that which belongs to the mighty. It accepts another god in place of myself.
It shall not live, Caesar.
Tigellinus.
Yes, divine Caesar.
These rumors about my setting fire to the city, couldn't we shift the blame to
the Christians?
If the populace could learn to fear and hate them, they might destroy them.
The following day, we meet a stranger named Titus, sent by the Apostle Paul to seek other Christians and deliver Paul's message.
Who are you?
Titus, a stranger in Rome.
How do you know me?
You were described to me.
Where do you come from?
Jerusalem. I was sent by Paul, apostle of...
Wait. Not here.
Hey, Strabo! Look. Sign of the Cross.
Hey, that's the name of the movie! We are then introduced to our heroine, Marcia, played by Elisa Landi, who hears the crowds in the streets claiming they got a couple of Christians. She goes to help the gentleman when Marcus Sorobus, prefect of Rome, subdues the situation.
Well, go on. Why did you stop?
I didn't know
What?
that it was the prefect of Rome.
What's your faith?
My friend and I are philosophers.
I said clear the street.
After Marcia and the gentleman leave, Marcus's infatuation is noticed by some citizens of Rome, one being Dacia, played by Vivian Tobin, who quickly goes to Poppaea, played by Claudette Colbert, to make her envious.
Well, he didn't smile.
Oh. It must be some other woman.
And I told him the Empress wished to see him alone and immediately.
Oh, stop drooling, Dacia. Take off your clothes. Get in here and tell me all about it.
According to Claudette Colbert, the donkey milk was actually powdered milk, and the lights would make the milk turn into the consistency of cream cheese within an hour. Personally, I don't think I would ever want to bathe in milk. Ugh. This scene is also one of many other scenes that the Catholic Church would be opposed to, and I do understand why. The fact that you see quite a bit of Claudette in the scene to where a little bit too much is going to be shown. This is where they got heavily involved during Hollywood after this, and I believe they were even able to approve certain things for Hollywood at that time. Marcus soon finds Marcia again, and both have a pleasant conversation before they are interrupted by Tigelius, played by Ian Keith.
You're not afraid of me, are you?
No. You're harmless enough. In fact, quite different.
Different from what? What do you mean by that?
I mean, many times I've seen you riding through the streets. The prefect of Rome. In your armor with your guard. And now you're so human.
You dislike me?
No.
You shouldn't. You must like me. In such things, I always have my way.
No.
The Emperor commanded me to find you and deliver this myself. The extermination of Christians must continue. None may escape. Those who are dangerous are instantly to be killed. The others are to be held for death in the arena. This duty has long been entrusted to you. I charge you to be faithful.
While Mercia is preparing dinner, Stefan, played by Tommy Conlon, is sent on an errand for Titus, but is asked to stop and get the bread that Mercia had paid for early that day. Unfortunately, a trap is laid and Stefan gets captured in order to find where the Christians are hiding.
Papa, dear.
Here he is! Stefan's arrested!
Who is Stefan?
The boy living with us.
Why was he arrested?
I don't know.
Who arrested him?
Licinius, his men,
Where did they take him?
to the district prison.
If that boy knows anything, they'll make him talk.
After Stefan is tortured and reveals where the Christians are, the Romans sent out, and so does Marcus.
Death is nothing to fear.
Mercia,
He's dying.
come with me, quick.
Isn't that the girl you were talking to at the fountain, Marcus? You couldn't have known she was a Christian, or you wouldn't have let her go after hearing the Emperor's orders.
This scene is truly heartbreaking, even to watching the little girl cry as she loses her mom, and the Christians singing to the Lord while also knowing the harrowing experience they will go through before they all die. I personally love the subtlety of when the little girl is crying for her mom and the man comes up behind her, says, "Come, little sister, I'm going to take care of you." I love that because as a Christian, I can really relate to that. I can love my family. I am supposed to love my neighbor as Jesus commanded me. But when it comes to Christians, it's like we all become a family. You don't have to be my blood relative to be my family. You and I share a relationship with Jesus, and that makes us bond. It makes us close. And the fact that these people are together because of Jesus and they all love each other, and this guy decides he's going to look after this little girl is really, really sweet. And I can't for the life of me find any information about this little girl. She's incredible in this, in my opinion. And I cannot find anything about her. While holding a party, Marcus goes to attend to Mercia, who pleads to go back with her people. They get into a fight, and he tries to convince her to join his way of living.
An entirely new life begins for you. With me.
That was very simple. I thought there'd be something better for you and me.
Better?
Doesn't matter to you what I think or feel, so long as I'm here. It never did matter. Oh, Marcus, you never meant anything but to make me one of your slaves.
Don't think of it that way. I want you here. You want to be with me, you'll have everything with me.
Well, I'd rather go back to them.
We have a right to this.
I can't see it like that. I can't.
Well, then something has twisted you out of all natural feeling. Your kind of life, your faith has done it. I've always believed Christianity was merely stupid, but it's vicious if it can do this to you.
The Lady Mercia, this is Anteria, the most wicked and talented woman in Rome. and my friends who are content with life.
I found you. We meet. I've seen you in my dreams. I've loved you in dreams.
What's that singing?
The Christians on their way to the arena dungeon.
So I have thoughts on this scene. On one hand, it makes me so uncomfortable watching this scene. The fact that Ancaria dances around Mercia, Mercia is clearly uncomfortable, clearly frightened. The crowd's reaction, especially that guy that pulls his woman's hair up, there's a lot of stuff in this scene that makes me personally uncomfortable, which I think that's what Cecil B. DeMille wanted. However, the scene is saved when Mercia hears her people singing. It gives her that strength back, and she finds her strength in Jesus again, and she's able to stand strong and get that strength back. And when Ancaria starts dancing around her again, she stands there as a pillar of strength. And I think that's what saves the scene for me. Mercia is taken away by the guards, and Marcus pleads with Caesar to let her live. However, Poppaea has other ideas.
Empress, she will enter alone.
The Christians are being thrown into the arena, and Mercia is forced to go out alone. However, Marcus comes and pleads with Mercia.
1,000 gods have been called a true God, but there is none. Each one is only a fantasy. Yours is just a mistaken belief. Renounce it.
No. No, not this one.
Monsieur, if you don't want to live for yourself, then for me. I love you. Can't you see it? Oh, I know. I told you so before and then tried to kill your soul. I didn't know. I was confused. I still am, except for one thing. I know I love you. Beyond all doubt, beyond all living without you. Monsieur, I prayed last night. As I imagined you always pray. I called out to your God to save you, to give you to me. He wouldn't hear me because I can't accept him in my heart. I tried, but I can't. Renounce your God in name only. Even though I can't believe in him, I will respect him. You'll not lose him. I swear it if you live as my wife.
No, Marcus. To know that you love me is all I can have.
How can you do this to both of us?
This is stronger than we are. Much greater than our love. No, Marcus, I must follow them.
And if you die, I shan't live either.
You must live. If only because someday you may know what I know now.
I never will. Not without you. You could teach me to know. Teach me to... Unless you tell me, this is all true, isn't it? An afterlife and happiness.
Yes.
For me, too. Even I could have it.
Yes, Marcus.
I believe you. I believe what you tell me. There, with this Christ, we could always be together. Promise me that?
It's true.
Then I want to go with you.
Marcus.
Yes, with you now.
It isn't fair to you.
Yes, it is. It's merciful to me. Some hope. It keeps you with me, maybe always. I'm full of strange hope. Much happier. You want me to go with you, don't you?
Yes. I love you.
Why, I can't sing the hymn. I shan't look up either. I'll be looking at you and believing you're my wife.
And that was The Sign of the Cross. What do I think of it? It's one of my favorite movies of the 1930s. It's one of my favorite biblical movies. It's such a good movie to watch during this time of year, and anytime I'm in a mood for it, to be honest. But I will concede the film does have some flaws. My biggest issue probably would be the relationship between Marcus and Mercia and how he becomes redeemed. From an emotional standpoint, I understand that the film wants you to root for these two to get together. Frederick Mark and Elisa Landi are quite cute together, and I find that they have good chemistry. And I understand that we are supposed to root for them. However, from a logical standpoint, this poses quite a problem. Okay, after one day, they are in love. But yet, when he takes her for himself, she realizes he's more or less using her as a possession, a slave. And he's like, well, just don't think about it that way. Don't think about it that way. He gets mad at her when she refuses to budge on her faith in Christ, then tries to force her into his way of living, which doesn't work. Then he kind of becomes forceful with her. The fact is, even though she's crying out, let me go, he doesn't stop until he's interrupted. So which means he probably was going to go through with forcing himself on her, which doesn't make him that likable.
And would rather die for a belief, for some vague...
It isn't vague. It's certain. One man proved it. He changed men with it. I've no use for your kind of happiness. Send me back to them.
You're not going to die with them. You're going to live with me. Did you think I'd share you with this Christ?
Let me go.
Marcia, be honest. You want to be with me? You love me?
I want to be with them.
Oh, but with me first.
Marcus, let me go.
Excellent! Excellent! Excellent!
But even after all of this, he goes to see her in the prison. He's begging her to stay alive, renounce her faith. But, she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But listen, I still love you, and you need to be, you need to be alive in order to know what I know now. And I'm like, honey, he literally just basically said that he used you as a possession. He tried to force himself on you. So why on earth are you loving him at this rate? And then there's his redemption. The whole redemption for him, to me, was way too abrupt. There's only 2 scenes throughout the film where he looks at a cross. One is when the Christians are being killed and the rest are being taken alive to be fed to the lions. He sees Titus holding the cross that he was holding when he was preaching. He sees that, and there's a bit of a conflict there. Okay, the second one is when Mercia is taken away by the guards and he's helpless to do anything. And when the door's shut, he sees the cross of the shadow from the door. And again, there's a conviction there. That's all fine and dandy, but when he goes to see her in the jail, he says, I don't believe in him. I never will unless you are alive to basically tell me about it. Honey, she's been telling you throughout the film and you still didn't believe it. So what makes you think you're going to believe in it even if she was to renounce her faith and stay alive with you? That's not how that works. So the reason why this really doesn't work is even after all of that being said, and the guard says, okay, Mercia, you need to go. It's your time to go. He's like, wait, it's true, right? This is true. I can be with you forever with Jesus. And she's like, yes. He's like, well, then I'll go with you. And he's like, I'm full of strange hope. I'm not going to look up, but I'm going to die with you. Okay, that's fine and dandy that you want to die because you think you love this woman, but that's not a legit way of getting into heaven. Jesus himself said, no one comes onto the Father but through me. You got to accept Christ in order to be saved. You got to admit to yourself you are a sinner and you need a savior. And the fact that Marcus just like, I just want to be with you, that's the wrong attitude. So in a realistic standpoint, he's not going to make it into heaven because he thought he was giving his life for her, not because he's a follower of Christ. Now, the movie is only 2 hours and 5 minutes. There are plenty of movies, especially back then, that were slightly a little over 2 hours. So my thing is, you could have added, at least for me, a couple of scenes that would have shown his conviction, and then he could have actually asked the Lord into his life, and then you rewrite the ending. You make it so he comes to her and says, Mercia, I have accepted Christ. I'm willing to die now. Then they both, knowing that they're going to go together, yet go for the Lord, it changes everything and it makes it much more powerful. So for me, as much as I love this movie, the ending is way too abrupt, and I don't care for how they redeemed him by the end of the film. Now, the casting of the film is actually pretty good. Elisa Landi only did pretty much a few handful of films before this, but she showed promise. And Cecil B. DeMille thought that there was something different about her than any other old Hollywood actress at that time, and he chose her for the role. Kind of similar to Deborah Paget getting the role of Lilia in The Ten Commandments. To the side of Lisa, you have Charles Laughton, Claudette Colbert, and Frederick March, three of the most influential and still pretty relatively famous for us old Hollywood fans in the actors' filmography. They all did an incredible job. My personal favorite, of course, is Elisa Landi, who, in my opinion, is criminally underrated. I went through her filmography very recently, and she is good, and I highly recommend that you check out her other stuff. Now, despite the problems that the Catholic Church had at that time with this movie, looking at it from today's perspective, it's pretty tame, considering what we are seeing on a day-to-day basis in TV shows and movies. It's a lot worse than what Cecil B. DeMille could have done at that time. And what's interesting is, although we can see the full version now, they actually made him edit the film, or rather, they just did it themselves. They didn't make him do it per se, but they removed some of the offensive imagery, such as a girl being tied, and there's a gorilla there, a girl being killed by, I think it's alligators, and a whole bunch of other gruesome details that I personally usually fast forward because I don't like seeing it myself. Those scenes were actually cut for a while, I believe for the re-release in the late 30s and early 40s. However, the footage was found and has been added in to the DVD, which you can see now. Despite some of the problems I have with the movie, it is a very sweet movie, and it's relatable to some Christians or to us Christians in some way, shape, or form. And there are some scenes in the film that are really, really tender. Firstly, there's the gentleman who takes care of the little girl while they're in prison, and when they're being hauled out, he covers her face with his robe. It's a really heartbreaking yet tender moment of this old man and this little girl bonding. And the fact that before they die, she asks him, "Where are we going?" And he says, "We're going to go see your mother." And it's heart-wrenching, but it's really tender between these two.
He threw him over his head, didn't he?
Yeah. Where are we going?
Going to your mother.
Another thing I love about this movie is the hymn that I believe was written specifically for the movie, because I cannot find it anywhere. And it is so beautiful. It's played at the beginning and ending of the film, and the Christians sing it multiple times. And it is a beautiful hymn. Despite my complaining about it, I also love Marcus's reaction and conviction when he sees the cross. Frederick March does an incredible job in these scenes, and I just think they are played beautifully. This movie was nominated for Best Cinematography, but unfortunately lost to A Farewell to Arms. However, this movie did win 3 awards for photoplay. The awards went for Best Picture and Best Performances for Charles Laughton and Claudette Colbert. Not too bad. Despite the issues, the flaws, and my complaining about it, I really do love this movie. I revisit it quite a lot, and I highly recommend that you guys check it out. You guys might find it quite interesting. And that wraps up my review of The Sign of the Cross. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of it, if you've seen it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in your thoughts below. If you haven't seen it, did I pique your interest? Or is this something you're just going to pass on by? Let me know. So that wraps up this review. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye! Have a great and wonderful day.